Hi, I'm Jason, and this is my story. My upbringing was a little bit unique because my really early years, I was in Reno, Nevada. That's my earliest memories, sitting on the couch eating Captain Crunch, watching Knight Rider. It was pretty awesome. I really don't remember having any worries. Even though my parents are pretty poor, we lived in Reno, Nevada, in a really poor part of the town where people would get stabbed. But I don't know, I just wasn't aware of things, bad things or whatever. Then my family decided to move to Japan when I was about 5, because my grandfather was fighting cancer and things like that, and my mom felt that it was super important for us to be near him towards the end of his life, and so that's why we moved there. I don't know why, but I felt like I got teased a lot because I was different. I look Japanese, but my last name is Barney, and so I don't know if it was just that or if the way I acted. Some teachers didn't understand me. I can really only think in elementary school, because I was there till I was 13, I can only think of 2 teachers that really understood me. The rest of them, I felt like they didn't know what to do with me, whatever, how my behavior. But I remember getting teased a lot when I was growing up. My family did better in Japan because my dad had his own business. He was doing his thing. But then my dad decided to buy a house in Utah, and we moved when I was 13. And, I don't feel like I got teased as much in Utah when I moved over here, but I felt like I got ignored more over here, and that I had to fight for attention, that I had to fight to get friends to like me, or fight to make sure that I wasn't ignored in school over here, because I was that foreign kid. I don't know if you guys remember that 70s show, but I kind of felt like Fez for a lot of the times, but I had to fight to be included into a group like that. And that was kind of my upbringing. I have 3 siblings. I've got my younger brother and then my 2 younger sisters. My brother and I are 2 years apart, and then my 2 younger sisters are 9 years and 10 years apart. So I was with my brother for a really long time. We were really, really close. Like brothers, we would fight, but in the end, I don't know. We were really, really different. The way we think is very, very different. I'm not competitive at all. I just don't care if I don't win a Nintendo game, And he gets so excited when he beats me at Mario or whatever game that he really liked. And, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But that was his thing, beating me or beating other people, thinking that, or he is pretty fast. So being faster than me was his thing. And I was just super content about, me. And then my younger sisters are a lot younger than me. I really didn't have a relationship with my younger sisters till they were a little bit older. I think after my father passed away, I think that's when I started having more of a relationship. Maybe I started paying attention to more because I felt that I'm the oldest. So I felt like I had some need to step in and take over the father role. I quickly realized that was not a good thing. That I'm not their father and I could never replace them, and that's not what they needed. But my relationship with my mother is really interesting, and then my father and I got along pretty okay. Him and I could talk. We would talk a lot. He would share his passion about art and all the things that he knew about people, and he would just tell me lots of stories, and I'd listen, and I tried to be a good son. I mean, obviously I've fought with them. I was really blunt with them. I always felt like I could talk to him as an adult, even when I was younger. If I felt like he was doing something that I didn't think that he should be doing or whatever, I would call him out, and he didn't like that. But I still think that I was right to call him out on it. But I think maybe because of that, I had a really close relationship with my father. My mother and I did have a pretty decent relationship, but it was never I don't know, I kind of felt like I have always tried to please my mother. Her opinion about me mattered more than anything else. If she was happy with me, then I could feel okay about that. If If she approved of what I was doing, then I would feel safe or secure about it. I can give you an example. I loved to draw comic books when I was younger. That was my jam. Like me and my best friend from my church, like we would swap comic books that we created that week, and that was the funnest thing. And I remember the day my mom read one of them, and she said, "Oh, that's really funny," and she started laughing, and she thought that was really good. It was like probably the biggest confidence booster I have ever had in my whole entire life. That was like the highlight of my life, is her laughing at something that I wrote and drew, and her thinking that it was something good. So I think her approval like really, really mattered to me growing up. And, you know, it's kind of a struggle because, you know, now that I'm married, you know, my wife is, you know, who I have a life with. But then I'm always constantly worried about what my mom thinks, you know, because she'll tell me things because I think she likes that I listen to her, that I care so much about her opinion. And, you know, there was a corner in my mind where I'm always like worried about, oh, is my mom gonna like this decision when I'm like 33? Like, I don't know. That's my relationship with my family. So before meeting Jared and doing Jared Fager Academy, my biggest worry was, was I gonna make it, or am I good enough to belong in this society? I know it sounds really heavy, like if I belong in society, like do I matter as a human being? But I don't know, it was a place in my life where I was doubting, to see if I was even like worthy of being around other people. I just felt like I didn't matter a lot, and I didn't know why. I would quit jobs because I felt like my bosses didn't need me, or I wasn't wanted at a company, or I wouldn't finish school because I don't know. I just felt like it just wasn't my place. I just didn't know if I fit, if I was a piece in this universe to be somebody that's okay to be here. I just wasn't sure. And I think that was my biggest worry. So before the Jared Fager Academy, before I started talking to Jared, my relationship with my wife was disconnected, I felt. Well, no, actually, that's not true. I didn't know that I was disconnected. It was more that I didn't understand why she thought the way she did, right? Because the thing is, it's kind of messed up, but I am an empathetic person. I feel for other people. Like when I watch YouTube videos about other people like bearing their soul, like I feel connected to them, and I feel like sorry or happy or whatever it is. And I felt like that was the best attribute that you can have. And I felt like if anybody else didn't have that attribute, it was like, you're kind of broken as a human being. You're like, I don't know, why don't you have that? You should be empathetic to people. But after talking to Jared and going through the courses, I started realizing, especially this with my relationship with my wife, that she has her point of view and she has her strengths. And what she brings to the table is completely different than what I bring to the table. And that's just fine, because we need people like my wife. We need her to be, you know, following through things, to making sure that things get done. Otherwise, I'm not going to get anything done, because I'm going to be trying to help, you know, I'm going to be helping everybody that I see in front of me, and I won't get anything done. But my wife brings that. And I feel like my relationship with her before was, I didn't understand why she wouldn't let me do certain things, because in my mind, I thought it was like the best thing I could do. But understanding what strengths that she has and what strengths that I have, I'm able to understand her a lot better. And not that she was never like a bad person, or she was never like this person that I resented. I've always loved my wife. It's just that there's a part of her that maybe I didn't understand. and Jared's program has helped me understand how she thinks and how she feels, what she does is valuable. And I think it's just been a night and day relationship for me and my wife. Before, I felt like I didn't fit in. I didn't know my place in this universe, like how I belonged. Um, I don't want to say that I feel like I belong right now, like, because I think that's a process. I think it's going to take a while for me to feel like I do belong here. But I can tell you this, after talking to Jared and after doing the Jared Fager Academy, I realized that the universe is a lot smaller. And to explain that, there are a lot of people like me. See, my problem was that I thought that my problems were only me, and that I just thought that, like, I'm holding this big burden of, like, I need to figure out my place in this universe. But the thing is, there's a lot of other people that act and think the same way that I do. And that, I think that made all the difference in how I felt about, where I belong and how I fit in, because I don't want to say it's easy, but it's almost easy now, because I know what I want out of my life and how I react and the decisions that I make. And I know how my wife makes that decision. And then I can branch out and see, like, how other people make their decisions. And it's almost like I can see a pattern, or I can see a way to figure how I can approach situations now. Before, I think it was too big. The universe felt impossible to figure out. Just so many different people, and I just thought everybody was so different. But in reality, like, we all have a lot of similar wants and needs. And I felt like figuring out that one thing had made all the difference in the world of me feeling not so alone. I don't feel like I'm in this huge empty space. I feel like there are other, women or men that are exactly like me, that have the same concerns, about their wives, their relationship with their wives or their friends, with their bosses or their coworkers. I just feel like the world is so much smaller and it's manageable. I think the biggest misunderstanding that I had about my jobs, because I've had a lot of jobs. If you know me personally, you know I've had a lot of jobs. And I think what I thought before was that I think I just needed to, I thought that I needed to be perfect at what I did, that I needed to please somebody like my boss or my immediate supervisor. And if I was letting them down, that I felt like I wasn't going to be able to do this anymore. Like, it felt impossible to finish a job or to finish something, because I felt constantly that I wasn't living up to their expectation. And job for me relates to, like, making money. I mean, like, the better I do with my jobs, the better I'm gonna, be able to financially bring that home. But honestly, before talking with Jared and before doing the courses, I think I felt afraid. I think that sums it up. It was that fear of letting my boss down, fear that I didn't matter in the company, led me to go from job to job, and that didn't translate well with financially, obviously, because there's just no consistency in that. Now, I feel like it's not necessarily like my job to please my boss 100%. It's actually my job to do my job. Like, I can compartmentalize, like, what do I need to do to make certain things happen, and what are some choices that I can make that would benefit the job instead of benefiting me. See, the thing that I didn't understand was, by trying to please my boss all the time, I thought I was doing him or her a favor. I wasn't. I was doing myself a favor. I was protecting myself from looking bad or making mistakes. And that in itself would make me get frustrated, because when you don't make mistakes, I feel like you don't learn as quick, or you don't learn as well. And I just was getting stuck in this little tiny place, and I wasn't growing, or I would just get caught up in, I'm trying to please my boss, but my boss is not pleased. Well, they're not pleased with me because I'm not moving forward. I'm not getting any better. And now I feel like I can work on myself, and it's predicated on what decisions that I make. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned from taking the course. I can't express the gratitude that I have with what I've learned from Jared and Jared Fager Academy, the program. Because what it has done for me is it's almost like it's taking off a certain lens, right? Like I see my life at a very different perspective. I feel like there's possibility now, which is huge. I feel that my relationship with my wife and my kids actually have an end goal and a result that I can work towards. Like I feel like I found a treasure map, right? Like I know how to go get that treasure now. Before, I felt like I was just aimlessly just going around, trying to find whatever happiness meant to me. I didn't know what that was. But now that I have this map to follow, I know that I can be successful. And the fact that I can say that I know I can be successful is worth it. It's just huge.